So everyone, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce you to this lovely lady. I don't know how I came across her, but I'm so glad I did. I actually don't know. And I've worked with her one-to-one, and I've worked with her in a group session, and she's just absolutely magic. So Marcia, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, it's a complete honor and a pleasure to be here and to be with you, Irina. So I've been many things, but now really I'm a soul guide and ancient divine feminine teacher and inspirer, really, for women to really heal all of the things that are holding them back from claiming their divine right to thrive, to start including the end into their lives, and to learn also like really ancient tools that we knew dating back to 500 BC. So that's it really. I don't know if you wanted to say anything else.
Yeah, no, that is, yeah. So I suppose I'll give a little bit of background. So I suppose I wouldn't be here. We were saying, we were laughing actually before we came on live, that if you met me 5 years ago and said, Irene, you'd have a Facebook page, you'd have a wellness practice in your home, and you'll be doing lives every week on Friday, I would have said, I think you got mixed up with somebody else, because that's not me. So I suppose 5 years ago, I was in a search and in a quest. So, and I think we talked about this. So everything, I had the house, I had the home, I had the 3 kids, and I was juggling. And I suppose I was putting myself last, and I was absolutely exhausted and trying to be all things to all people. And now I realize I was running a lot of limiting beliefs about myself, limiting beliefs about the world. And I stumbled across you, and I just found it absolutely amazing. So I suppose you held my hand, and you're still in my life, which is absolutely amazing. And I love this, I suppose, about women. And that's what I suppose I'm big into sharing here as well. What I love so much about women is women supporting women. And you really, that's one of the messages that I really learned from you. And it was always like, Irina, when you're, stabilized on the step that you're on and you got where you are, you step up so others underneath you can, you lead the ladder down. And I absolutely love that about you. And I suppose I really connected with you on that level, because I suppose it was like a sister, or, that lovely, endearing, just that genuine, so it's friendship and care. And it was just lovely to connect you and kind of be in a container where I could, I suppose, reassess my life, reevaluate my life, and really connect back to, I think, my heart and my soul, which was lovely, which was the aspect of me that was missing. Because I suppose I would be very spiritual, and I love my prayers, and I would have been very religious in that end, but there was an aspect of me, I suppose, that I missed my connection with me and my heart and my soul. And I think through you, with your working me, and I suppose seeing what my soul was saying, or what was there, what I couldn't see, and then it just gave me great freedom. I remember just loving going into Easton's, and I just look, book pick me, and trusting that the right book, and it was always, I remember it was just, or I'd, be on Facebook, or someone pop up. And I suppose that was the whole thing with you as well. I actually still can't trace back how I found you, but I remember I was sitting outside the cathedral waiting for Kate to come out. I remember watching one of your Facebook lives, and it's all about soul color and soul reading. And I remember just sent off the discovery call, and I was kind of like, I didn't even know why I'd sent it off to you then. And it was just, I'm so glad, because I was saying, sometimes, when you think your life should be, or things should be a certain way, but then you're kind of saying the prayers kind of like, oh, please, I'd love support. And it's like, well, the only way it can come is through people. And definitely, that, I suppose, if I was reflecting back of the whole week, that's what I found was, your prayers are answered, but sometimes you have to open your eyes and try things that you've never tried before. And definitely, if I look over the last 5 years of my life, I have tried so many things, I have experienced so many different people. And I suppose it's coming back to a point where doing work with you and doing work with Moira, but I wouldn't change for the world. And I suppose that's why I kind of wanted to bring you on to introduce you to the Willow Circle group and my followers, is because I suppose you saw the potential in me, and without you seeing that, this wouldn't be happening. It wouldn't. I'd probably be sitting down having a cup of tea, watching TV, or doing something completely different. So I suppose that's what kind of I really wanted to share with people. And what I love so much about you as well, Marcy, is you know, you're all about collaborations, about women supporting women. And without, it's a big thing I've kind of really realized, because I'm doing a lot of reflective practice. You know, I suppose it comes to the end of the year and you're kind of looking back, what are the things that worked and didn't work, and support structures. And you kind of called me up on that as well when I was explaining. So I suppose it's so important as women, you know, always, you know, I suppose if you go back tribally or anything, or even at work, we just, you know, we have this innate connection to support one another. And it's so beautiful to have, you know, when you're recreating something, when you're building something, to have a support beam like that, that is like, I got you. And I remember you always, you know, if something's happening, you're like, Irene, you got this. You know, I always say to you, you're in my head, I can hear you, you know, with certain mantras or certain phrases. And it's just so important, I suppose, to explain that to people, that, you know, if what you see here with me is not just me, it's all the people that are, you know, my accountability buddies, it's all my mentors, it's all the courses, it's not me, but it's a collection of us all. And that's what I love about it, because there is no way on earth I would have done this on my own. I wouldn't have been able to, you know. So that's kind of where.
Yeah, and I think because society and our upbringings and for women, I think as cultures, it's just like the projections are, you know, and particularly I find with in Ireland, like, you know, it's the Irish mammies who are run into the ground, get the prize, right? And it's just, and I'm like, absolutely not. That is anything but. But what we have done is we as women, and even, you know, or anybody, we learn the most by what we see. So your kids will learn by what you do rather than what you say. So we have picked up all these patterns of how our mothers and our grandmothers have been and behaved. And what I have seen is that women tend to put, you know, we're nurturers, we're carers, we're minders, we're, you know, we put ourselves on the back burner. So, you know, and if we're lucky, we'll give, you know, and if we really are lucky, we'll manage to give ourselves, you know, the 5 minutes. And we need to change this now. It's like, we as women, if the woman in the house is not in her power, in looking after her needs, then she can't possibly help others from a place of fulfillment. And why that's important is because when the woman in the house is in her power, in her energy, looking after her needs, everybody benefits. And so we need to change that, because thousands and thousands of years ago, women did support women. When women had their periods, for example, they were told to go in and rest and meditate and imagine for the tribe. But actually now, you know, we've got this industrialized, you know, living whereby, you know, you go into work at 9 and you finish at 5. Like, and that is actually, we're not in the industrialized time anymore. And it doesn't work. It's not about working harder, it's working more effectively. And also being mindful about us as women, how we're like the moon, you know, we have cycles every month, we've cycles in our lives, you know, we're very cyclical kind of beings, and we really need to come back to our rhythm as a woman. We are the seasons, we're very much connected to nature. We sense things. Like I heard on the radio today about this woman, it was a very sad story where her young daughter, was having an operation. They said, yeah, the operation really went well. And this woman was saying, we're going to be in that morgue next week. And the husband was like, absolutely no way, for God's sake. Will you stop talking like that? And she said, we are going. And literally 30 minutes later, they came out and they said, we're really sorry, your daughter has passed. And it's just like, but you know, she had that intuition. But you know, we've heard that, just like we know these things, like that child is going to be sick tomorrow. No, she's not. No, yes, she is. Like, I've had that with my husband. Like, and I'm like, how do we know? We just have that intuitive sense that's very, very active in women, and we need to really claim that. And
Yeah.
that's what you did. You followed your intuition, actually. You
Yeah.
were guided to me. But you have to be willing, then you were willing to send me that message, to have that conversation, to invest in yourself. So that was another stepping up, because you could have said, oh, I can't afford to work with her one-on-one. But we were like, it was it really was a spiritual guided session back then. And I suppose I'm lucky enough that I can see the soul through my third eye. So I was able, your soul came in and said, this is who she is. Show her the way. And so I was basically peeling away the stuff. I'd go in and go, okay, so what is it today? And then you saw what I saw. And then we were like, yay, celebrating. And it was fun.
Yeah, and that's what I love about, because we were talking about that as well. It's like nearly connecting to the little girl or the aspect of you that you had forgotten, that like, because I suppose, I just got into serious mode, working as a mom and in a really, I suppose, responsible role. I'd lost that connection, that carefree, I used to make mud pies. I didn't give a sugar about how I looked. I was just very much connected to nature, connected to having simple fun, and I find that now is so important to me now, because I know now it's like, it's in reverse. It's like, well, if I've time for that, I'll play with you. Do you know what, Jenna? But it's like,
yeah,
it's actually not. It's like, even before I came on this as well, because it's like, how can I, raise my energy? How can I, feel good? So like, we're literally, Jenna and I were playing Guess Who, it's great because I know I have a 5-year-old. We're chasing around the what you call it, the island, and she was like, let's play musical statues, and we just had fun and laughing, and like, I'm sure people will connect to that as well. Sometimes we're so serious, with music, even putting it on for the fight, and even afterwards, it was the shift in energy. It was just amazing. And it's just that reconnection. It can be so simple when you kind of gently let go of the layers. It's like connecting back to who you were there all along, and having the fun. It's like, what I've kind of, the common thread that I've really seen of a lot of the women that are on here, and I think a lot of us are in our 40s, as the ladies that I've on as well. It's like, you come to a certain level, as you said, and you kind of realize, I've only one life. There's only one of me. I really want to experience. What do I really want to experience more of? And it's, it's looking at those things. And I love that whole thing about cyclical living as well. Kate Northrup, I think, talks about the whole thing, about, resting, taking action when you should, and not going against your body as well. It's really important. Like, for me now, I realize my energy is number one, and I suppose, rather than going into months or years of what had happened, is that I know now to rest when I should, and pause, and like, what are the things, I'd have my fundamentals, what are the things that get me back into flow and make me feel good, or get me back into shifting my energy and shifting my vibration. And it's not that I do it all the time, but if there are simple things that I have in place that they're nearly now, I'm realizing that are non-negotiables, for me, and I'm sure a lot of people realize that as well. And I think sometimes it's like we get the cart before the horse, and we kind of think, well, when I have everything, I'll be happy, or when I have all this, I have time for fun. It's like, actually, when you are in, when you are in flow and you're feeling good, that's when, that's it. And it's shifting that mindset, and it's taken me a while, and of course I will sometimes go back, but it's I'm quicker to catch it now and go back into it. And I suppose realizing that, there's so much out there, and there's so much possibilities, and there's, even we touched on this before, that there's so many avenues to reconnecting to your soul. Like, I want to talk about soul color therapy, because that's, I suppose, your background is, you're from Cork, you went to London, trained, you're an air hostess, business degree, met a lovely Frenchman, settled in lovely Brussels, and then went and trained as a color therapist. So it organically started a way back when and I love that about that. It was the introduction to color therapy, and I suppose I realized that, before I came on, I put on the red lipstick, I put on the red nails, and instantly it lifts your mood. And I'm sure any woman can we all have those, those lovely colors in our wardrobe that make us feel good and lift our energy and vibration. So I'd love to even talk about that, because I find that fascinating. And I'm sure the girls or the ladies or whoever's listening would love to hear a little bit more about that too.
Yeah. So what got me, maybe I'll just share, like, from my, because what got me on, I was always very spiritual, very open, very curious about alternative stuff. And I used to feel my hands, used to feel like I'd look at them and they were normal, but I could feel my hands double in size. And I used to have this fear growing up because I would sense things. But I so I worked in Aer Lingus for about 8 years. And during my time in Aer Lingus, I had these stomach issues, like severe pain, and I would be ill. Like when the flare would come, I could be talking here literally, and it would hit me like that, and I'd be on the floor, bent over in severe pain. Went to all different consultants, doctors, all the top guys. They were like, "There's nothing wrong with you," and I was just like, so I discovered colour therapy because someone had sent me a letter saying from Ireland saying, I want to train in different therapies. And of course, when the information came in, I was reading them, and one of them was colour. And I was like, ooh, because colour is scientific, it's scientifically proven, but it's spiritual, which people don't really know. Because the truth is, you are a soul in a human body, and you have a vibration. You have like if I was to take away your body, all I would see is light. And so I was on paper, had a great job. I was working with Reuters news agency, plenty of money, great holiday, loads of holidays, great social life. Oh, had it all, except the guy. I wasn't lucky in the love side. And I thought, if I keep doing the same thing, I'll keep getting the same results. And and then also it's just like, I've got to change something. So I thought, I'm going to jump on this colour therapy business. And I rang the woman for a session, and she was like, no, I'm doing a course. It's a 6-month course. And I thought, you know what? I've nothing to lose. And I started the course. It was a weekend, 2 days, every month for 6 months. 6 weeks into the course, no more stomach problems. 0 stomach problems to this day. And what I realized, of course, as I did the work and the weekends, was I really discovered, who am I? So it's like, oh, Marcia, she's this and she's that. And, labels, these expectations that have been put on us, that we took on, that were actually, I was like, that's not me. That's not me. Piss off. I was just like, it was all like coming off. And people were saying to me, I never said it at work or anything, because I didn't, back then we were talking spiritual like stuff, 20 years ago? They go loony bin, And they were saying to me, you look different. What's different about you? It's like, have you changed your color? No. Have you changed your glasses? No. And it was my energy had changed. And in that 5 months, I had bought a car, changed jobs, bought a flat that I'd spent 14 years talking about. Like this flat was literally miraculous. It was a flat that I'd seen. It was a maisonette in Hampton, in a lovely area that I'd seen, that was £40,000 out of my budget the previous year. And that flat came back up on the market, bang, in my budget. I was like, this is like mind-blowing stuff. And so then I went on to the diploma, and then I thought, I've got to bring this to Ireland, because actually back then there was very little complementary stuff. And I trained colour therapists. I was one of the first to train colour therapists in Meath and in Cork. And that's where it then I wrote my own course. And then all of these so colour is definitely one of my tools, but what colour has done is that it's opened up my intuition to a whole new level. I use it everything. I use it crystals, like you can bring food, what I wear, visualizations, And also the other thing to know is that when I was in that course, everybody was seeing and feeling. And I was like, oh my God, like I don't see anything, I don't feel anything. And on the very last day of the diploma, an angel sat in my lap and I started bursting into tears. And that was the beginning of opening up my, my intuition. So then I started sensing, and then over time I started hearing, and now I see, hear. They're my two main, and I get visions of, like, when I'm working with people, of like, oh, I see this, and they're like, oh my God, yeah, that's actually, so all these experiences, and we can shift them, because what the color does is that when you see a color, you take it in through the eyes. From your eyes, it goes into the retina, to the brain, and from the brain, it sends a message to the endocrine system. And the endocrine system is responsible for your hormones and how you feel. And that's why, instead of me saying to you, oh, come on, Irina, think positive, and you're like, piss off. What with the color, over time, you will actually go, I'm actually feeling different. And then, because the energy, the feeling drives the thought, you start thinking differently. And when you start thinking differently and feeling differently, you start experiencing life differently. And you think, oh my God, like, why have I not seen this before? So it's like me taking away your glasses and saying, this is how you see life. And so just magic happens. Like, it's that sense of wonder. It's like, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if ABC? And you're like, it happened. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's amazing, isn't it? It's just like, so this is the norm. It's just like the lack is not the norm. It's a false prophecy. The natural state of being is abundance. Your natural state of being is to thrive. And if you're not, and I'm talking thriving in money, thriving in health and well-being, in relationships, in every area, that's your natural state of being. So you've just got to go, oh, actually, if I'm not thriving, there's no such thing as, challenges anymore. I don't have challenges. It's like, where's the opportunity? Because there always is opportunity if you look for it. But you have to be like Irina, and you have to be willing, because that's the thing, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We were told that in the scriptures. And Irina, I said to you, as like, yes, the transformation happened when we worked together, but I was the guide, I facilitated, but you were the one that was willing to get out of your own way, to allow me to give you your lambasting, to do the uncomfortable, to do what it takes. It's just like, you know what? It's like, if you want what someone else has, or when you see like the likes of Irina, go and step in her arena, in her arena, and do the uncomfortable, because the uncomfortable only is uncomfortable the first time, and after that it's fine. And every new level has a new devil. So it's like, this is a never ending, like, it's like I did a launch there recently, and my fear that came up was that I was afraid of having people that I didn't know, because I'm very particular. Like, I don't work with just anyone. I will always have a breakthrough call first to see if they're a vibrational match. But I had to, in the group level, I had to kind of let that go. And I was just like, oh, I saw that fear. Okay, Facebook ads. So I ring my Facebook ad leader. I was like, by the way, we're doing Facebook ads. And she was like, what? I said, yeah, we are. And I got 4 new people out of those Facebook within 24 hours. Because I did not say, oh, that's my fear and it's holding me back. I was like, oh, that's a fear. I'm going to nail that. I'm going to literally kill it and go to the next level. So it's just like, fear it's nothing. You've just made it something.
Yeah, and I love it. There's a tool, because people are like, how are you doing the lives? It's like, if I go back 5 years, it's this gentle, I always say, it's like for all the world, it's like, if anyone grew up in Ireland, like, you know, the electric fence, it's like this invisible, we put this boundary around us. And actually in Positive Confabulation, there was a story about, you know, the elephant with a rope around its leg, and it's like that was the only thing that was holding it back, you know, which was appropriate when they kept it when it was a small elephant, because it was, you know, it was enough to hold it. These were grown elephants, and its belief was that this was binding it, you know, or you'd see, you know, and it's so true that, like, I didn't realize the limitations that I put on myself, or, you know, I had seen myself in this box. This is who I am, as you said. I'm a mom, I'm a nurse, this, you know, but it's being willing to kind of, you know, being curious and being open and realizing, you know, is my comfort zone serving me? And then realizing, like, that electric fence of things that are, you know, that we didn't realize were nearly not, I don't want to like to use the word in prison, but it's nearly like we're keeping ourselves in a box, and we nearly feel like it's like, you know, a snake that overgrows its skin. It feels uncomfortable because you're, you know, and it's like, as you said, you know, when you face the fear, when you kind of like do the Facebook lives, or, you know, when I launched this was a bit, you know, at the start I was like, what am I? But I was like, just week by week, you know, have the fun. And even when all this was coming up for me, because like I'm really showing, you know, I suppose, because in Ireland as well, you know, I suppose it would be, everyone has their own certain beliefs and values. You know, we are a very spiritual led society, but it's so important that I show this aspect of me as well, and be vulnerable and show, I suppose, the whole of me and the process of me, and realizing, kind of, just relax, Irene, have fun with it. You know, people will learn, and people will take what they need to take, and it's just giving them information. They can do what they want with it, but it's like, I now know I have the tools to kind of realize that now, like, as you said, what's this belief about, or what's this fear about? And it's nearly, you know, I'll never forget it. Like, my desk was over here in the corner, and you were like, Irene, we'll just go in, and literally you'd have done the second, the Facebook, and you were like, click the button. And I was like, it was a bit, but like, it was nearly like, oh, you know, a tiny bit of pressure from my finger, press enter and press, you know, that's all it took. And I was like, after, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I had so much built up in my head, stopping myself, that actually that's literally all I had to do was 5 minutes, done, you know. And then I loved that I had it private, so I kind of, you know, I didn't tell anybody who I was behind it, and I kind of was out in nature, and I was sharing kind of, I suppose, lovely quotes or inspiration that I found and saw. And then, you know, gently I got to a stage when I was like, okay, I'm unapologetically, you know, putting a face behind this, because it's so important to show there is a person behind all these things, you know, as well. So, but it was just a gentle process, and it was a gentle unraveling, and a kind of a gentle stepping into, I suppose, it's really like a becoming, or a version of yourself. And, you know, Ev said it a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of women are saying it as well. It's like, you come to a stage in your life as well, in your 40s and things like that. It's like, you know, stop putting things off, you know. And I'm so glad that I went through the uncomfortable, or went through, you know, but I had the support structures in place to kind of reassess, look at the beliefs, look at the programming, look at everything that was going on, look at the energetics, try something new. Like, I remember when you said to go off and try and train in IET, I was like, are you mad? You know, and I love that now. I use that on myself. I use it on my children, you know, I use it in my practice. And it's just so empowering to realize, you know. And I suppose, if that's one thing I really wanted to be here and show this aspect of me, is like, you know, what people think of you is none of your business. You know, what you think of you is all of your business. And it's so important to be true and be genuine to you, and just to try new things and be curious and try things that are different. And I suppose trust the bigger picture, because when I look back now, you know, and all the ladies that I have in my life, like you and why, you know, and even who I have, you know, the girls that I've been at the course with when I was on your trainings, and also in QTT, like, it's just a different connection. It's just amazing. It's just beautiful. It's just a really heart connection, and it's just most, I suppose, I'm showing for people, just because you think your life is a certain way, just try something new, try something different. You never know where it'll lead. And sometimes we're asking the questions, but we're not opening our eyes and seeing that there's opportunities. And look, I understand with NLP, you know, we delete, distort, we generalize a lot of things, and we filter out stuff that's there, but we don't see it because of our filter system. But it's like, if we can just get a little bit curious, and, you know, open our eyes to, you know, there's no right, there's no wrong, there's no left, no right, you know what I mean? It's everything, it's all blended, everything, you know, the whole world is made up of such beautiful different variants and different varieties. It's like nearly going into a candy shop and kind of saying, oh my God, what can I try now? Rather than having, you know, the meat and 3 veg for the dinner. You know, it's such a beautiful thing to realize that, you know, we should never stop learning, because when we do, we stop growing. And it's really important that, like, every day there's lessons and there's learnings and there's experiences. And you know, that like life can be so much fuller, I think, when you're more connected to yourself, and when you realize that, you know, like quantum physics, you know, the amount of study and science is done on that. And even when you were talking about you know, light and about color therapy, there's actually photographs now that they take, you know, I can't think of the type of photography they do, and that we all have this beautiful aura and frequency. And I'm all about, you know, if we're in our heads, you know, we have EEGs, which is I suppose the medical way we measure brain activity, and we also have an ECG, which measures our heart resonance. So things are frequency, they are out there, but it's we kind of don't join the dots, don't join the link. And it's so important that if we're connected, if we're so much up in our head, if we're not connected to our heart, like, it's when you come back in here, it's you're adding to your life, you know, rather than just living one way, you're living in a whole different way. And like we all know, you know, the vibration, well, I suppose people might not realize, but people will connect to you in your heart first, because the energetic field of your heart is much bigger than the energy field around your head. And a lot of the time we're up here trying to, you know, and we're trying to work things out, whereas we come and try different avenues and different to reconnect us back into our soul and be more soul led and more into our heart space. It becomes easier because you're being more you, and the things that you like, and, you know, the situation events, they just show up, and it's just magic. It really, really is, you know.
Yeah, and I think too, to remember is that the reason that we are thinking beings, and the reason that we give intellectual abilities power, is because society and conditioning and schooling has said that, you know, that for the recognition, you know, that this is what, you know, like, do this, do that, do the other. And so you're going around and you're like, you're doing this, you're doing, and that's the thing in business. That's why people come to me. They're doing it all. They're doing the marketing, but they're not getting the results. Why? Why is that? Because what works for you will not work for me, because we're a resonance, we're an energy, we're different. And so what we need to do is we actually need to say, actually, the truth, because actually there is a divine truth. There is a divine truth. And the divine truth is this, that you are a soul. You are a spiritual, energetic being first in a human body. So when you were an embryo, that embryo was made of energy first. And you know what? We can read it. What I love about nature is just like, we're always being shown, but we do as you know, like symbols, as analogies. You're pregnant, right? On day number 1, you have that embryo. Do you see it? No, you don't. But that is a living organism. It's an energy. And what happens with that energy, and this is why everything is driven by energy first, because from that energetic place, the embryo starts to develop into a fetus, and then you discover, like when you go, you see there is a heartbeat there. But if you were to look at the woman, you would never guess that she was pregnant, ever, until 3 or 4 months in, where she starts to develop a bump. And so actually, the other thing to know is that, what have you done for that baby to grow? Absolutely nothing. Only look after yourself. Because that baby, the divine intelligence, creates the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the skin. I'm just fascinated by it. And so if we want to look at that to say, This is why actually the energy is created first, and then the body is formed. And if you want to connect now, like with your body, like just tune into your body. And if we can ask to be shown the energy, like I want you to like bring your hands out and just feel, just to see if you feel the energy, your aura, which is made in the image and likeness of God, of you, because this field here is the exact same blueprint as your body. So energetically, you will see energetically, if you had that ability, you will see all the organs, all the energetic systems, and it's always there. And this is why working on the energetic level first, you can, when you heal on that level, it doesn't have to go to the physical, because the physical is the last layer. So when you become aware of your energy, your number one priority, like Irina said, is mind your energy. Clear your energy, clean your energy by visualizing a beautiful white light or a golden light, and ask, please cleanse my energy. Or what I do is, like my way of cleansing would be, I release any and all of other people's energies, and I blow that out through my mouth, out through a divine filter. It's transformed into pure divine love, light, truth, and wisdom. And then all the places and situations I've given my energy away, I call it back through a divine filter, and it comes back to me. And so I'm in my body, I'm in my energy, and I'm very much into, I'm leaning back, I'm leaning into me, I'm holding myself. And then there's no fogginess. It's just like, now I can see, now I can sense, now I can feel, because I know that I am energy first, and then I'm a human body.
Yeah, and it's and even I'm sure people even want to try that afterwards, even just there now, the difference, just the subtle difference in doing that. Like, you're more not in your head, you're more fully present, you're more fully available. And when you're that, it's like nearly the lights are on, you're fully there. So you're going to be more, more, see more things and be able to respond in a totally different way than being off slow heart. That's what I feel sometimes, because when you're not fully present, because we all do it, especially with me, we'd be thinking about the dinner, we'd be thinking about going to work, we'd be thinking about school, or be thinking about have to clean, or we can, our energy can feel so scattered that even if we just set that intention, even in the morning time or any time when we feel like that, just sitting down and just connecting to the body, to the breath, or even just that lovely visualization you said to call your energy back. It's like, and when you do it, the more you do it, the more it becomes second nature. And then you realize, hang on a minute, because you're not playing with the full deck of cards either, because your energy is so scattered. And that's what I find as well. I have to sit myself down and think, hang on, and talk to myself like a parent. Hang on a minute, sit down and gather yourself, literally, and it makes such a difference. You just get like, oh my gosh, you could be going around for hours that way. Whereas if you can notice it and just calling, as you said, coming back and being more present, it's way more powerful. And realizing, as you said, there is more going on, and it's, there's a lot more happening. If you think about anything, an idea comes from energy. Our iPhones came from somewhere first. It was an energy, it was a thought, it was a vibration. So that there's so much that people want to research. And you said, the color therapy, there's even quantum physics, there's just so much out there. And I think even in Ireland, I think we've a great connection to nature as well, and we've a great connection to spirituality as well. And I think a lot of stuff is shifting and moving and manipulating for the betterment. And I think it's great just to see what sits with you, because we're all unique, we're all individual, we're all different, and there's just so much out there now, and it's available, that it's fascinating. It's just nearly, I think we've just hit the tip of the iceberg, but it's so fabulous that we can be so, as you said, comfortable, and even me comfortable speaking about this now, because I think it's so important to share what's out there and what resources are out there. So I suppose we'll finish up now because it's nearly 1:15, but it's just been a fabulous chat. I could stay and talk to you forever. But you're actually giving a lovely link to anyone that is interested that they can do their own soul color personality. Is that correct?
Yes. So basically, we are a soul, and we have our own unique soul color personality, and we also have our own unique blueprint, whereby we've everything that we need is inside in us, right? So we've come in with this blueprint of having the color and attributes that we've been born with. We have a color and attribute that is available. That's like our life GPS. That's going to make our life easier. We have a color and attribute to understand what have we come back to learn. You are here right now on this earth plane to learn something. And when you learn that lesson, also it's kind of understanding, why have I attracted those things? Why am I going through the hamster wheel? Why? Because that's what you've come back to learn. And when you learn the lesson, it doesn't come into your energy anymore, into your reality anymore. So once you know who you are and you're on a soul level, then you actually go, oh my God, I don't have to be a red, be like a leader, push it. I'm actually a green. I'm a mediator. I'm a healer. I'm a carer. I'm a mothering. So it's just like you stop going against the grain. So the first step of that is I give away a free soul color personality reading. And in that, you get a soul alignment, and you get to find kind of an insight into who am I on a soul level. So that can be found at glowyourtruecolors.com/numerology. And you can discover for yourself to see what it says. And
I remember doing it, and I remember doing it for me and even for my family, and just seeing the connection, and the similarities with all of us. And it was lovely to kind of realize the aspects of Mike brings out of me, and equally what I bring out of Mike. It was lovely. But even I remember saying to you, it was nearly like the analogy is like, we go around thinking we're oranges, but really we're apples, or we're really, but the way. So, and it was. And I know it sounded stupid. I couldn't put it into other words. It was like, oh my God. And when I read what I was, what the color was like, because there's, light and shade for everything, but it's like owning those attributes and realizing, oh my God. And even I laugh now because I'm back to learn magenta, which is all, business acumen and stepping out and all that, and even understanding, so I've been naturally in invert, even people mightn't think it. And, I've been naturally running to the sidelines, but I am here to expand. And I remember when we did that, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, because I understand the dance now. I understand when I connect, it's like, I'm here to kind of share and, connect people and on a bigger level, but equally I understand that part of me that's like, no, I just want to, be quiet in my own bubble, in my own corner. And it was just such a great freedom. And I think that's what I realized. It was like, stop being you're not an apple, you're an orange, or whatever it is, and there's great freedom in that. And there's great understanding, even doing it with my children as well, realizing, what's going on for them, and knowing, what I could kind of play around with, or kind of realizing where they're coming from, because I'm understanding them at a whole different level, and I find it fascinating. I really, really do. So it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm so delighted you're back in Ireland. You've moved back from Brussels, and you've graced us with your presence. You're back in Cork, and people can find you and Glow Your True Colors, isn't it? And Facebook and Instagram, and your and I'll put
Instagram now is Marcia_O'Regan, because I'm 2021 I've been guided to brand my name, but anyway, so I've started the process, again, got the guidance. It's just like I got the guidance like 2 years ago to say move all your family back to Ireland. I was like, what? My poor husband, I'm very lucky with him, because he basically does what I say. I'm like, my guides have told us you've got to move back. And the synchronicity of like being back has been incredible. So it feels good to be, I feel I'm back to do some work around the divine feminine.
And if people are interested in that, it's fascinating, it's fabulous. Like, I'm in one of your groups now at the minute, and yeah, it's very, very powerful. It's fabulous. So it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope people have enjoyed it, have found inspiration from it, you know, thinking outside the box, being a little bit of curious, and being open to, like, that there's so much going on around us. You know, if you think about even, you know, how do you lock your car? You know, you press a button, like, where does it go? Like, there's energy traveling through, you know, and locking your car. Even this, you know, this is going through the ether and coming down, you know, in pixels and coming into a computer. So, you know, it's shifting our perception is really important, because sometimes what we think we perceive is reality. Actually, if we step back and realize there's a lot more going on than we previously perceived it to be. And I think when you're open, I think Albert Einstein, I love that whole thing about, you know, if you keep doing the same thing, you'll get the same results. And the definition of insanity, you know, he was so spiritually led. If you look at him, he was on about, we've made the servant, which is the conscious mind, you know, the master, and we've let the master, which is our subconscious, which is our connection to so much around us, we've made that the servant, you know. So it's amazing to kind of, when you see things that, you know, it's realizing that, you know, just think outside the box, try new things, expand your vision, and realize that, you know, there's so much possibility out there. And I'm sure people have definitely picked that up from you, Marcy. And even being bold and trying things different, as you said, you know, look at all as if you look back and reflect upon, you know, you were an air host, you know, you went into colour, you went off to Brussels, now you're back here, as you said, the whole shaboogle and everything back again into Ireland, because you trusted, and you said everything is just the synchronicity since you've come back have been fabulous. So it's I think learning to more fall into the flow of life and fall into the flow of you, as opposed to going against the current, you know.
Yeah, and then the other I'd say the other two things to take away is that you, like, people want to know. You don't have to worry about the things you know, because you already know them. What you need to concern yourself is about the things you don't know, because the things that you don't know are actually ruling your life. And then the other thing is that the greatest gift that you could give yourself is to be uncomfortable in the unknown, because that's where God lives. Like, that's where the divine lives. Okay. So it's like, and I think if the whole COVID thing has shown us anything, it's shown us that people, the reason this is happening is to wake people up, because people have put their power into this, and, you know, into the jobs and into the clients and into the government and into this. And it's just like, absolutely not. You have got the power. You are powerful beyond measure, and there is a higher power there that has the highest intention for you, if you're willing to let go of control and go, I'm ready, I'm available, show me the next step. Lovely way to end, actually.
Lovely way to end. A lovely way to end. Lovely way to end. So it's been just my absolute pleasure, honestly. You know, but genuinely, it has been. I suppose just to show people what's out there, and just to show them your amazing knowledge, and your amazing gift. And it's just been a lovely way to spend a Friday. It really, really has. So thank you to everyone that has joined. Don't think there's much, just lovely comments, just saying thank you, and very insightful. And yeah, so the comments are fab. They're just, you know, even about work smarter, walking your talk. Hazel has said inspirational. I think it's nice sometimes to acknowledge. Thank you both. I could listen to you all night. So it's lovely. Like, the feedback is lovely. So much. Got so much out of tonight's chat. Elena said, so I'm delighted that, you know, it's great, because you've taken time out of your Friday evening with your kids and everything, to spend it here with us, and to share you.
Anything for you, Irina, because I love you, Irina. I'm like, oh, I love her, because you know, you have just been a player, and that's the thing. I think it's like, you know, this work is a pleasure, because I get to work. I get to spend time with Irina. It's just like, oh my God. You're amazing.
That's a fabulous comment to finish with, Bjorn. But as I said, it's the support structures, it's the beings that hold us in place. It's like, as you said, even about the fetus, it was the womb held, you know, and there was the woman behind that. But like, even that baby that was growing inside her didn't realize the bigger picture, didn't realize that, you know, everything that was outside that. And I think sometimes a lovely analogy that you use about the whole embryo, about energy, is like, if we can kind of tune into that and realize just the trust, just getting into the flow. And that's what I find, you know, when I'm in resistance and think, it's like, hang on a minute, come back into myself, you know, tune in. And it's just amazing, you know, not that I did all, but it's learning to go with the flow as against the current. So it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone for the comments and for joining in. It's just been a lovely way to spend a Saturday or a Friday evening. So thank you, everyone. Bye.